Today we'll be studying about basal ganglia and the limbic system. So from your exam point of view, this is not that much important from anatomy perspective, but you never know that you can get one or two questions also. But I haven't seen any, like in university papers, any questions coming in the long question from this topic. So to be on the safe side, just go through the topic once and just try to understand this topic in the class itself. Okay, so you have some knowledge about the basal ganglia from your physiology class also, na? And the limbic system. Okay, so starting with the basal ganglia definition. So basically it is a gray matter. Just understand the basic things, that it is a thing present in the brain. Don't go very deep. It is a structure. Please don't talk. So it is a structure that is present in the brain. So go in a ascending manner all the topics. So it is a structure present in brain and it is made up of gray matter. So do you know the difference between gray matter and white matter? What is gray matter? Anyone? Cell bodies, yes. So basically gray matter is gray in color, white matter is white in color. Our brain is composed of gray matter and white matter. So the color is gray because it has cell bodies, and the color is white because of fat deposition. So fat is usually whitish in color. So due to this fat deposition, it is white in color. Now how come fat comes in the brain? So it comes through myelin sheath. So the myelin sheath is basically white in color. So this is the basic difference between your gray matter and white matter. There are two more differences. One is that in gray matter, all the coordination activities happens in our body. That happens in the gray matter part. And in the white matter, all the association happens. If you don't understand this line, leave it. So the third important thing is, in gray matter you will find cell bodies, and in white matter you will find myelin sheaths, and these myelin sheaths are white, fatty in nature. So now there is another point, is that the gray matter usually covers the cortical areas, the cortex areas, that is the cerebral cortex, cerebellar cortex. These are usually covered by your gray matter. But this basal nuclei, being a gray matter, it is present in the subcortical mass. Subcortical means below the cortex. So it is a subcortical mass of gray matter located inside the white matter. So it is very much unusual, right? So that is, it is a subcortical masses of gray matter located inside the white matter in the basal part of the cerebral hemisphere. Now anatomically, basal ganglia includes these three structures, that is your corpus, striatum, claustrum and the amygdaloid body. But functionally it also includes substantia nigra, nucleus and the subthalamus. What do you mean by these two lines? Anyone? So basically anatomically any structure means, like these structures are present in the basal ganglia. That is this corpus, striatum, claustrum and amygdaloid body. These structures are present in the basal ganglia anatomically. You go in the back. पीछे जा. पीछे ना जा. So anatomically basal ganglia has these three structures which are a part of this basal ganglia. Okay. But functionally, like according to the function that the basal ganglia follows, we also have this substantia nigra, red nucleus and subthalamus. Basically, whatever are the functions of basal ganglia that we will be studying later on. So these structures also follow the same function. Also, they are not a part of basal ganglia. Similarly, here you will see amygdaloid body or the amygdala. It is a part of basal ganglia, but functionally it is a part of limbic system. Functionally means it follows the function of the limbic system. Okay. Now, do you know about the direct pathway and the indirect pathway? Any idea from physiology? It has been covered in physiology, direct indirect pathway. So I am just giving a simple understanding about this. Don't write this thing. This is for understanding only. So SN means substantia nigra and STN means subthalamic nucleus. So basically here we are talking about the substantia nigra pars compacta. Okay, don't remember this name. So substantia nigra, okay, by default your GPI, that is your globus pallidus interna, will inhibit the thalamus. Okay, before that let us study the corpus striatum part. See, so as we have seen that in definition, one of the part of basal ganglia is your corpus striatum, right? So in corpus striatum we will see there is one head of the nucleus, then thalamus, and on the lateral side we will see this globus pallidus and the putamen. Okay, and this globus pallidus and putamen together they form your lentiform nucleus. Globus pallidus and putamen together they form lentiform nucleus. Now if you see this globus pallidus, this triangular structure, this is again divided into your globus pallidus interna and globus pallidus externa. Okay, then comes your putamen. So putamen is a very important structure. In medicine you will study that most of the intracerebral hemorrhage occurs in putamen area due to hypertension. Now, so bleeding occurs in this region mainly. Now, this is forming the lateral boundary of your corpus striatum, and the medial boundary is formed by your head of the nucleus, that is the caudate nucleus, and the thalamus. And in the lower part you will see tail of caudate nucleus. So if the head is here and the tail is here, so this structure is practically look like this. Okay, so here you can see this is the head of the nucleus and this is the body of the caudate nucleus, which is basically present behind this globus pallidus and your putamen, and it continues as the tail of the caudate nucleus and the amygdaloid body. Okay, now in between this structure you will see this, again this structure which is represented as a green line. This is your internal capsule. So don't hammer your heads regarding these terms. There are certain terms which you need to know from your head and neck part, basically your neuroanatomy, and neuroanatomy is very difficult from first year perspective, and it is a very difficult subject also. So just understand that there are certain fibers which have certain functions which we call internal capsule. This internal capsule is again divided into your anterior limb, genu, and your posterior limb. Okay, so this is not the topic of our day, so just remember this name. Okay, now again coming to this topic. Now this corpus striatum is structurally or like histologically divided into your palleostriatum and neostriatum. So this palleostriatum gives you globus pallidus, and neostriatum, that is the new cortex, give you putamen and caudate nucleus. And this globus pallidus and putamen together form the lentiform nucleus. So this is for your memorization part only, not that much important. So here comes your globus pallidus and putamen. Now we came to know about caudate nucleus, we came to know about putamen, we came to know about globus pallidus, then subthalamic nucleus and substantia nigra. Now going back to the direct pathway and indirect pathway. So basically the direct pathway will be facilitating movements. So any movement of our body will be facilitated by the direct pathway, and the indirect pathway will be inhibiting the movement. So D for development of the movement, indirect pathway in for inhibiting the movement. Okay, now in either of this pathway, the first part will be your substantia nigra pars compacta. Substantia nigra pars compacta, or simply substantia nigra. Now there is one feature of the thalamus is that, I mean this direct and indirect pathway is that this globus pallidus interna will always inhibit the thalamus. Now let us understand this thing from a simple story. Suppose globus pallidus interna is our mother, okay, and thalamus is our father. Now so father always says, okay, you can do anything, you can go anywhere like this. But globus pallidus interna, that is our mother, usually try to restrict ourselves, okay, and try to oppose father. Okay, So here also the same thing. The globus pallidus interna will always be inhibiting the thalamus. So the globus pallidus interna will always try to inhibit the movement. Now what can I do to do the movement? Suppose movement is going to go up. Okay, movement is going to go up. Now what can I do to do that movement? I can skip my mother and tell the same thing to my father directly, right? So here the same thing is happening. This substantia nigra will be inhibiting the globus pallidus interna and directly will be stimulating the thalamus. Okay, so the movement will be happening. This is the mechanism of direct pathway, where the substantia nigra, which is you, will be inhibiting your mother and directly telling the same story to your father, and father will be like, go, yes, you can go to Goa or anywhere you want. Okay. But on the same hand, indirect pathway. Now before telling to your father, you told the same thing to your friend, and your friend is globus pallidus externa. This is your globus pallidus externa, and this friend, this stupid friend, what he did, he told his mother, who is subthalamic nucleus, and this subthalamic nucleus told your mother. Okay, and now your mother will not allow your father to do the movement. So this is the indirect pathway, where substantia nigra will be stimulating the globus pallidus externa, which will be stimulating the subthalamic nucleus, which in turn will be stimulating the globus pallidus interna, that is your mother, and your mother will be stimulated and your mother will be inhibiting the thalamus. Okay, so and your movement will be restricted and you cannot go to Goa. So this is the simple understanding of direct and indirect pathway. Now coming to functions of basal ganglia. So basically basal ganglia helps in coordination of any movement in our body. This is the basic function. So it will not cause any over movement, like it will not allow any movement to occur in excess. It will also not allow any movement to occur in subliminal situation also. So it will like regulate the proper movement of our body. Like I am doing this movement, so it is mediated by our basal ganglia only or basal nuclei only. So it is concerned with planning and programming of voluntary movements. It determines how rapidly, that is how fast a movement has to be performed, and it decreases the muscle tone and brings it to a level where that movement can be properly done. It regulates the muscle tone and thus help in smoothening the voluntary motor activities of the body. It controls automatic associated movements like swinging of arms during walking. It controls group of movements responsible for emotional expression. It controls reflex muscular activities. So this thing will be seeming to you like memorizing a lot of stuff, but if you see in real life certain individuals, like certain patients, you will understand that how important this basal ganglia is. Okay, so basically sometimes what happens due to stroke, due to any bleeding in the brain, after paralysis or after some time, they like patient comes with swinging movements like this, like they will not be able to control this movement. They will be telling that I am doing this movement whenever I am awake, whenever I am going to sleep, I am doing this movement. They will be doing like this to stop the movement. Here what happens, the subthalamus get injured. At that time you come to know that how this basal ganglia is how much important. So basal ganglia allows proper movement of our body. Like I want this movement to go from this to this. It will help me to do this only. It will not do like this, which is an irregular, unregulated movement. Okay. So basal ganglia prevents this part only. Like I need to give one force. So basal ganglia will determine how much energy or how much muscle tone it will be required, and it will regulate it like this only. This is the function of basal ganglia. So if there is any injury to this basal ganglia, then our movement will be hampered. So there will be irregular, unregulated movements. Like patients will be moving like this. Okay, any injury to these areas, patient will be moving like this. There will be unregulated movements and so on, so on. Now see here in this structure, I have already discussed that this head of caudate nucleus will be going behind this globus pallidus and putamen and coming in front as your lentiform nucleus. So it will be hooking like this. As you can see, it will be hooking like this, and here will be your globus pallidus and your putamen. And in front, there will be your lentiform nucleus. This lentiform nucleus will be formed by your globus pallidus and putamen. So again I am telling, so this is the lentiform nucleus. This is the lentiform nucleus. From here, the head of the caudate nucleus will be going behind this and coming out as your tail of caudate nucleus. And in between them, there will be fibers of internal capsule that is represented by green here. These are the fibers of your internal capsule. Now here, the striatum is basically, that is the corpus striatum is basically the receptive part, and the globus pallidus is the efferent part, that is the outflow center of the corpus striatum. So what it is telling is that the striatum part, that is the corpus striatum as a whole, will be receiving information, and through this globus pallidus it will be delivering the information like this. See here, we are delivering the information through this globus pallidus. So this is the efferent pathway, that is for functioning. And for efferent pathway, we are using the your corpus striatum. Now coming to claustrum, so from functional point of view, it is not that much important. It is basically present laterally to the corpus striatum here. So this is the claustrum. This is the claustrum. Functionally, it is not that much important. Now amygdala basically, as I have already mentioned, that functionally it is a part, I have not mentioned this thing, that anatomically amygdala is a part of your basal ganglia, but functionally it belongs to limbic system. What did I say? That anatomically it is a part of your basal ganglia. Anatomically it is a part of your basal ganglia. That is, structurally it is a part of basal ganglia, but functionally, through the functions that limbic system follows, it is a part of limbic system. Just opposite to these things, substantia nigra and subthalamus does not belong to the basal ganglia, but their functions are stimulated by basal ganglia. Now coming to substantia nigra, basically it contains your melanin pigment. So have you heard of Parkinson's disease? Have you heard of Alzheimer's disease? Okay, so basically your here in substantia nigra there is a component known as melanin. So this melanin, whenever gets this, here dopamine is present. Okay, so melatonin is a polymerized form of dopamine. Whenever this dopamine is not present in our body, like not present in the substantia nigra of our body, at that time Alzheimer's disease happen, usually seen in the elderly population. This is due to this dopamine. Okay. Now coming to subthalamic nucleus. So the function of subthalamic nucleus I have already mentioned here, where subthalamic nucleus was your friend's mother who gossiped with your mother and then inhibited your father. Okay, so this is the subthalamic nucleus part. Now coming to the limbic system. So basically the limbic system will be like doing functions like olfactions, then your visual activities. Now you are seeing one thing and you are doing another thing. So limbic system will help to like regulate this function in a proper organized manner. Your visual, your olfaction, that is your smelling, then your like hand gestures according to your anger, like you are angry and you are laughing, that will not do na. So it will be regulating these functions. So your facial expression should like revolve around your emotional behavior. So this is basically mediated by your limbic system. So emotional aspects of behavior together with visceral responses accompanying these emotions, particularly the reactions of fear and anger, and emotions associated with sexual behavior, which are necessary for survival of an individual, including procuring of food and eating behavior, survival of the species, including the sexual behavior. So what does it mean? That whatever will be your emotions, that will be coming through your hand movements also. You want to like do hunting and like you going in front of the animal and you are laughing, that will not do. So that will be regulated by your limbic system. Okay. Then brain mechanisms responsible for recent memory. So basically limbic system has hippocampus, and this hippocampus is responsible for your recent memory. What is the recent memory? Anybody knows what is recent memory and what is remote memory? Recent memory means whatever I have eaten in the morning, whatever happened in my previous night, then what am I studying right now, that is your recent memory. What is your remote memory is that what happened in my class 5, what happened in my class 12, what happened when I fell in the bathroom 5 years back, that is your remote memory. So these are also controlled by your brain. So by final year, you will be understanding that a lot of the function and a lot of the activities that you do in your day-to-day life, starting from your studying and all, memory purpose, your behavior, everything is controlled by your brain only. Okay. So then it does the integration of your olfactory, visceral and somatic impulses reaching the brain. So you are like smelling a food, then your body will be stimulated to take the food. So it will be in a organized fashion. This is the function of your limbic system. Now there are certain components of limbic system, just go through them once. Cortical structures. So what do you mean by cortical structures? It is present in the cortex. Okay, so limbic lobe is present in the cortex, hippocampal formation is present in the cortex. This limbic lobe consists of various other structures such as your cingulate gyrus, isthmus, parahippocampal gyrus and your uncus. So I could have put these pictures in the slides, but I don't think that before exam you will be needing these things. So if you can, you go through these pictures once. And then hippocampal formation is formed by your hippocampus, dentate gyrus and so on. These last two names are not that much important, gyrus fasciolaris and indicium griseum. These are not that much important, but hippocampal formation mainly contains your hippocampus, which is necessary for your recent memory. Now coming to the subcortical nuclei, that is the nuclei present beneath the cortex area, basically in your white matter. Your amygdaloid nuclear complex, also known as your amygdala, then your septal region and nuclei, olfactory areas for smelling, not for smelling but for getting the efferent from your olfactory lobe to the olfactory nuclei so that you can coordinate with your food taking activities or like other activities. Then hypothalamus, especially the mammillary bodies, and your anterior nucleus of thalamus. These are part of your subcortical nuclei of your limbic system. Then comes your fiber bundles of the limbic system. Here comes your fornix, mammillothalamic tract, stria terminalis, anterior commissure. So up to now it seems like it is all about memorization, but if you go through them once again, so these are your cortical structures that is present in the cortex. And these are your subcortical structure present in the subcortex. Now to connect this cortical structure and your subcortical structure, there has to be some connections. These connections are fulfilled by your fiber bundles. So these are the structures that will be connecting this cortical structure with the subcortical structure, these fibers, and together they form the limbic system. Okay. Now coming to amygdala, so it is basically an almond shaped mass of grey matter. So it is also a grey matter. Okay, underlying the rostral part of your parahippocampal gyrus, and posteriorly it continues with the tail of the caudate nucleus and stria terminalis. Just this much only from your amygdala point of view. Basically amygdala is associated with your sexual activities. So if like some part of it is associated with your sexual activities. So if amygdala is injured, so that person will be suffering from hypersexuality. Okay, hypersexuality is also a disease, so that person will be suffering from hypersexuality. So that is, so this feature is like controlled by your amygdala part. So it gets the main efferents from your primary olfactory regions, because sexual part is one part, but there are certain other parts also. So it receives fibers from your primary olfactory regions, and efferents are your stria terminalis. Do you know what is efferent and efferent? So basically efferent are signals coming through the efferent fibers to our brain. Okay, efferents are the signals that is going from our brain. So I am thinking of moving my hand, moving my right hand. So this signal is going to my brain, and my brain is stimulating the thalamus, and I am doing this movement. So this is the efferent pathway. So this is regulated. If this is not regulated, if there is any lesion or there is any injury in any level, that movement will not be regulated. So you will see in case of any stroke patient, in a brain stroke patient, or we call them in a more proper medical term cerebrovascular accident, you will see there will be either spasm, like there will be tight, everything will be tight, flexed, or there will be loose, because the muscle coordination is not regulated. So if there is any lesion in the upper part, that is your upper motor neuron. So what comes in your upper motor neuron? You have been told? Okay, so basically your brain and your spinal cord comes, your brain comes in your upper motor neuron part. So if there is any lesion in your brain part, then it will be spastic type of lesion. So okay, leave this topic, just try to understand the efferent and the efferent. Efferent is any information going to our brain. Efferent means any information coming from our brain. Efferent arteriole present in our kidney. Have you studied in physiology? Renal blood flow. So efferent arteriole, that is the blood coming to the glomerulus. Efferent arteriole, that is the blood going away from the glomerulus. That is your efferent arteriole, efferent arteriole. So efferent means anything coming towards, efferent means going away. So here also the olfactory function, that is the sensation of olfaction, is the efferent, and the efferent is your stria terminalis. Stimulation of your amygdaloid body produces excitability, fear and rage. Bilateral damage of your amygdaloid body reduces fear and increases sexual activity. So this amygdala also controls your fear, sense of rage. So if this gets affected, there will be hypersexuality, as well as the fear will be gone, and like it will be a very disturbing situation. Now coming to the hippocampal formation, so as I have already mentioned that it is associated with your recent memory part. So efferent fibers from your entorhinal area, that is area number 28, and efferent fibers are your fornix. So basically if you see, the hippocampus will be connected to the mammillary body through this fornix. So we will see this thing. So it is a integrative center which influences endocrine as well as visceral functions and emotional states through its connections with hypothalamus, septal nuclei and cingulate gyrus. So what do you mean by endocrine functions? So endocrine function means release of your endocrine hormones, such as there are certain hormones from your adrenal cortex, adrenal medulla. There are certain hormones in the brain also. For example, from your pancreas, insulin, glucagon, these are your endocrine hormones. So these are regulated, like secretion of these are regulated by your hippocampus. It plays an important role in recent memory. Now fornix. So this fornix is a large bundle of projection fibers which connects the hippocampus with the mammillary body, as I have already mentioned. So information from the hippocampus has to reach your mammillary body, and this is reached. Harsh, what are you writing? Why are you writing? So fornix will be connecting your hippocampus and your mammillary body. Okay. So this fornix is a bundle of fibers. Basically, up to your level, it is a projection fiber. But as you grow, like up to the final year, so see, medicine is all about evolving branch. You will like studying about one medicine right now, and after 3-4 years, the medicine will be changed. That is your medicine only. So basically, fornix is formed by all of your fibers, your association fibers, then your commissural fibers, as well as your projection fibers. Do you know the difference between these three terms, association fibers, commissural and projection? Okay, so basically in brain there are two cerebral hemispheres, that much you know. Right lobe, left lobe, right hemisphere, left hemisphere. This too you know, na? If this you don't know, then you need to study more this part, because neuroanatomy will be covering much of your paper 2. Okay, so most part of your paper 2 will be covered by your head and neck and neuroanatomy part only. So our brain consists of right lobe and left lobe. That is the basic thing we study in our 11-12. So it has right lobe and left lobe. Now this right lobe and left lobe has to be having certain connections. So the right lobe should be controlling the left lobe should also be controlling the right lobe. What I wanted to say that both of them should have certain connections between them. This is maintained by your commissural fibers. Okay, so if I write the same thing in the board, suppose this is your right lobe of the brain and this is your left lobe of the brain. These are just schematic pictures. So there has to be certain connections in between these two. These connections are carried by certain fibers. These are your commissural fibers. Now in each of the lobe there has to be certain connections. Like this connection is between your right part of the body and left part of the body. Why did I say right part of the body? Because our right lobe controls the left portion of our body, our left hemisphere controls our right portion of our body. So if our left hemisphere controls our right portion of the body, so can you tell me that most of the people are left sided or right sided in terms of hemisphere? Left sided, because we write using our right hand and we do everything with our right hand only. So this is our dominant hand. So hemisphere is this one dominant. Okay, our left hemisphere of the brain is dominant. That is why we are using our right hand so much. In case of lefties, the left hand is dominant, so the right hemisphere is more dominant. Okay, so between this right lobe and left lobe is your commissural fibers. Now in between the lobes also there has to be certain communication. Okay, so these communications are carried by your association fibers. Association fibers. And there is another type of fibers, that is a projection type of fibers, which give fibers to your spinal cord. Okay, projection fibers give fibers to your spinal cord, such as your spinothalamic tract, your corticospinal tract, corticobulbar tract, then retrolenticular fibers. So these are certain fibers which will be giving, then dorsal column. So these will be your projection fibers, that is projecting from your brain to the spinal cord. So fornix is a type of projection fiber connecting the hippocampus and the mammillary body, but if you go into the higher books, you will see that fornix is formed by three types of fibers. Both your association fibers as well as your commissural fibers as well as your projection fibers. These three types of fibers are all present in your fornix. This is the only fiber in our body, in the brain, that contains all these three structures in a single structure. And if you need to arrange these three things, so fornix is mostly formed by your association fibers, then your commissural fibers, then your projection fibers. Now coming to your mammillothalamic tract. So mammillothalamic tract, as the name suggests, it is a tract. That is, it is a connection, an electrical connection or whatever connection you want to make out of it. So it is a connection between your mammillary body and your thalamus. So the mammillary body and the thalamus has to have certain connections in between them, that is controlled by your mammillothalamic tract. So it is also known as something, I don't know, Felix Visc d'Azir, is a prominent bundle of fibers which carry impulses from your mammillary body to the basically anterior nucleus of your thalamus. So this much from your basal nuclei, basal ganglia and your limbic system. Just go through them once in your book and you will be sorted just for your exam part. But I haven't seen any questions coming from this topic in your exam, but you never know. Okay.